Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? This chilly little night. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to our last Story Slam of 2025. I can't believe that's a thing, but here we are. It is November. I'm Jennifer Cambris, Director of Production and Special Projects here at Montclair Film. The bar is open tonight. Please feel free to go get concessions while I'm talking about some of these announcements and during deliberation after the storytellers finish up. A few announcements before tonight's event. Friday night, we have two great events to attend. At 8 p.m., we have the screening of Wicked for Good at the Claridge across the street. We'll have a special intro from Montclair resident Brandy Siobhan Massey, a former Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway. We will also have Montclair Improv Comedy perform their show here at Cinema 505 at 8 p.m. On Saturday, the 22nd, we have Academy Award winner, but more importantly, Montclair Film Festival Performer Award winner, Brendan Fraser, who's going to be going to the Bellevue in Upper Montclair, and will introduce the 12:30 screening of Rental Family. I think there's still some tickets left, so feel free to take a look later. At the Claridge, we have the Met Opera live stream of Arabella. As December ushers in on the holiday season, we have lots of ways to celebrate with Montclair Film. Our Holiday Classic series will start on December 2nd after the Upper Montclair tree lighting at the Bellevue and continue throughout the month of December. Make sure to catch one of our family favorites on the big screen to kick off the holiday season. On December 5th, we have a special holiday-themed comedy show at Cinema 505 called Bing Faithful's Very Merry Non-Denominational Holiday Special, starring Bob Colhan from Montclair Improv Comedy. We also have a handful of newly released tickets on sale for our annual fundraiser at NJ Pack, an evening with Conan O'Brien and Stephen Colbert. Make sure to grab those because we thought it had sold out and these just freed up. Our winter and spring education classes will be announced soon, with some great new additions, so keep an eye out for our emails, which will announce when registration opens. Montclair Film gift cards, membership, education classes, and merchandise also make great gifts for the film lovers in your life. Consider buying a gift that also supports nonprofit cinema in your community. Thank you to all of the Montclair Film members here tonight. Can we get a raise of hands if you're a Montclair Film member? Yes. All right, give the members a round of applause. Appreciate that. Our members receive discounts on tickets to the festival, the Claridge, and the Bellevue, along with many other perks. An example is the Brendan Fraser thing came to us last week out of nowhere. The first people we let know were our members. So really consider getting a membership so that you are first in the know as well. You'll be helping support the work that we do all year long. We have just updated our website so you can find much of this information and buy tickets to all of our theaters. I can't believe I'm saying that, but the Claridge and the Bellevue included, and events in one place at montclairfilm.org. Be sure to sign up for our emails and follow us on social media to make sure you're the first to know about all our great upcoming events. Please note your fire exits on your left and your right, and the restrooms are on your left and out the door. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to your host for the evening, Duncan Miller. He is our storytelling teacher and coach here at Montclair Film. Duncan is a former actor and improviser who has performed with the Second City and Improv Olympic in Chicago. He has performed in various theaters, short films, and festivals in New York City, Chicago, and Baltimore, prior to earning his master's degree in education. Currently, he is the high school academic dean at North Star Academy in Newark, helping to guide the next generation of storytellers. Please welcome Duncan Miller.
Thanks, everybody. Good evening and welcome. Our final Story Slam of the year. Thank you for coming out. We already heard from our members, and thank you for being here. But who has never been to a Story Slam here before? All right, about half the audience. Let's give it up for our newbies. Welcome. We're really excited about tonight's theme. As we approach the Thanksgiving season, everybody's talking about gratitude, being appreciative. We wanted to flip that on its head tonight. And our theme is thanks, but no thanks. We're going to look at stories about relationships, stories about jobs, stories about random encounters, and most importantly, stories of Thanksgiving feasts where the bird wasn't the only thing getting roasted. Before we dive into these excellent stories tonight, we want to introduce the people who are really in charge, which is our fantastic judges here in our second row. These are industry professionals and members of our community, and they will be deliberating upstairs after our show tonight to decide our first, second, and third place prizes. Storytellers, we get a swag bag if you place in the top three, and the first place person also gets a year membership to Montclair Film. So we're very excited to introduce our judges and then get to these stories. First up here in the center, we have David Gaines. Let's give it up for David. David is an award-winning filmmaker with 3 critically praised features in distribution. His work distinguishes itself with sensitive portrayals of ordinary people amid extraordinary circumstances and is distinguished by its earnestness and reverence. Next Year, Jerusalem from 2014 on Netflix follows a group of frail nursing home residents on the last trip of their lives. Saving Hubble from 2012 on Hulu is the story of the Hubble telescope's near-death and surprise rebirth. Keeper of the Cone, which is 2005 on Hulu and Snag Films, examines the relationship between an older autistic man and his terminally ill friend. David was one of 30 filmmakers from around the world invited to contribute to the collage documentary Sacred 2017 on PBS from Academy Award-winning director Thomas Lennon. David is also a working cinematographer and editor, having collaborated on dozens of documentary films over the past 20 years. Let's welcome David one more time. And here on the aisle, we have Jesse Baker. Let's welcome Jesse. Jesse is an audio producer and storyteller whose creative work spans public radio and premium broadcasting. At Audible, she served as vice president of original content, where she played a central role in developing the intimate conversation series Where Should We Begin with Esther Perel. The show, which pairs real couples with candid dialogue and psychological insight, reflects Jesse's belief in audio's power to invite nuance and connection. She remains the show's executive producer. Prior to Audible, she cut her teeth at NPR and Slate, producing for flagship programs such as All Things Considered and Weekend Edition, and creating the NPR trivia show Ask Me Another. Now she continues to shape immersive audio at her company, Magnificent Noise, always with an ear for stories that linger. Let's welcome Jesse one more time. And on the end in the beanie, there's no hats in here, sir, we have Keith Haskell. Let's give it up for Keith. I was purely joking. Keith is a television showrunner, director, producer, shooter, editor, and writer, and environmental activist. He specializes in comedy, talk show, man-on-the-street chaos, social experiments, and deep dive documentaries. Credits include Discovery's 6 Degrees with Mike Rowe, ID's Two Shallow Graves, and Talking Evil, True TV's The Chris Gethard Show, Hulu's Triumph the Insult Comic Dog, Viceland's Super Maximum Retro Show, A&E's Road Wars and What It's Worth with Jeff Foxworthy, Nat Geo's wild How Dogs Got Their Shapes, and documenting public and joyous stunts with viral video troupe Improv Everywhere. He is the live stream director of Chris Gethard's monthly UCB show, That Show. Come check it out, he says. But in his spare time, Haskell creates music loops with toy percussion, runs laps through Mill Reservation, and squashes spotted lanternflies in really innovative ways. He's a graduate of NYU's Tisch School of the Arts. Let's welcome Keith one more time. All right, storytellers, this part's for you. Now that we know who's in charge, let's check out the rules of tonight's show. You'll have 6 minutes for each story. The wonderful Jennifer here in the front row will be your timekeeper. She will hold up a green sign when you are halfway through at 3 minutes. You'll receive a yellow card when you have 1 minute remaining. And your red card is time to wrap it up. We're not going to yank you off stage, but if you see that red card, please find the conclusion of your story. Tonight, we are also introducing a brand new rubric to aid our judges and to equalize the playing floor a little bit more. And there are just 3 categories. First, overall presentation of story. Second, story dynamics. And third, theme. Pretty straightforward. As a reminder, there is no intermission, so if you want one last little drink, one snack for the show, please do that now. And we are about to jump into thanks, but no thanks. Let's welcome our first storyteller to the stage. This is Farah Abdur Rahman. Come on up, Farah.
Anyone here work at Target? Great. Thanks, but no thanks. Target is a cult that I want no part of. The email came at 1:40 a.m., November 3rd, 2025, an ungodly time of day. Ungodly, and I'm a heathen. Even though I'm usually awake at that time of night watching police dash cam videos, I love it when the perps get tased. But back to the story. There should be a law that rejection emails should come during normal business hours. But no, Target decided to ruin my day that hasn't officially started at 1:40 a.m. It started off, "Hi, Farah," like we're friends. Thank you for your interest in joining the Target team. We know that every career decision is an important one, and we really appreciate that you took the time to consider a career with us and apply for a role at Target. Do you? Really? At this time, we do not have a role available that matches your preferences. Mind you, I applied to stock shelves. Part-time. For the holidays. However, we believe you may be a good fit for Target in the future. KMA. Everybody knows what that is? We're not allowed to curse. Kiss my. We wish you success in your career search. Hello, I was applying to stock shelves, part-time, and hope that we'll have the opportunity to consider you for another role at Target in the future. In the meantime, follow along with us on bullseyeview.com for the latest news and happenings. Sincerely, Target Human Resources. Replies to this message are undeliverable. Please do not reply. Companies always put that at the end of their emails. They don't want you to fire off a KMA email forthwith. But this time I decided to, driven by hurt feelings and sheer and utter pettiness. Dear Target HR team and Melissa Kremer, head of Target's Human Resources. Yeah, you, Melissa. I Googled you and found you. Thank you for your rejection. Your clarity is refreshing. I appreciate knowing exactly where I don't belong. I must say it's truly inspiring how a company famous for hitting the bullseye can so effortlessly miss the mark. This is my third time in 10 years applying for a job at your company, and it warms my heart that in return, I haven't been offered a job, but I have been invited to follow a blog. It's comforting to hear I may be a good fit in the future. Not. I'll sleep better knowing that someday, if the stars align and Mercury's in retrograde and Earth hasn't been taken over by alien holiday gnomes, Target might reconsider my humble application. Thanks, but no thanks. I must decline your decline. Reverse uno. Target, you and I could have had a great working relationship. I have worked monotonous, grueling, dull, unstimulating, uninteresting, tedious, boring, repetitive, back-breaking, and soul-crushing jobs before. So I'm sure I would have been an asset for your type of drudgery. Perhaps it's the universe telling me, you don't want to be a part of that, a sign that I'm better off. I mean, I only wanted the job to get a discount on that 12... Hold on. I only wanted the job to get a discount on that 12-count container of bite-sized Madeleine cookies and brownie duo made with real butter Target sells. A decadent brownie combined with the lovely Madeleine for a wonderful fusion of chocolatey goodness and simply sweet flavor. A little bliss in every bite, guaranteed to be a favorite or your money back. Sometimes a thanks but no thanks is really just a reroute. Because if I hadn't gotten your rejection email, I would not have had any material for this edition of StorySLAM. And sometimes no is the beginning of something far better. Until then, I'll keep following bullseyeview.com. Nothing says career advancement like reading corporate press releases. I'm sure it'll be just as fulfilling as actually working with your team. Best of luck as you continue your search for the perfect applicant to stock shelves, part-time, who is apparently not me. I hope the candidate you choose steals and has bad hygiene. And when they're not picking their boogers in your store aisles, they're smearing them on Target merchandise. I have no qualms about sending this email for fear it may ruin my chances of being hired in the future because I will never apply to your company again. Once bitten, twice shy, thrice a fool. I have learned my lesson. Plus, I think Target is a cult that I want no part of with your solid red shirts and khaki pants. I would wish you the best, but I have upgraded my energy. So, lukewarmly, unkind regards, all the worst, sarcastically, petty and sincerely, me.
All right, keep it going for Farah. Oh my. Just want to validate you because my brother got an Abercrombie & Fitch job for the holidays to stock shelves. And then all of a sudden my parents asked him, why are all of your clothes Abercrombie now? He was just stealing everything that people returned. Every single thing he owned. He threw out everything. All Abercrombie, head to toe. The boogers, though. Oh. Makes you think twice about Target. All right, great start for our show tonight. Let's welcome our second storyteller to the stage. This is Bonnie Barrios. Let's welcome up Bonnie.
Well, that was a story to follow. No pressure. Okay. You see, my summers weren't your typical summers. Every year around May, the teacher would hand out those glossy pamphlets filled with every summer camp imaginable. Art camp, tennis camp, drama camp, the sleepaway camps with the lakes and the cabins and all the cute boys. And every year, the same thing happened. The minute that paper hit my desk, I didn't even bother looking at it. Why? Because I already knew the answer. My parents would never, and I mean not in this lifetime, not even in the next, not even as a joke, let me go to summer camp. And sleepaway camp? Por favor. I mean, if you're Latin, you know Latinos are not going to let their kids go to sleepaway camp. So I might as well have asked them for a pony, a yacht, and a front row ticket to Menudo. Who knows Menudo? So I did what any heartbroken preteen drama queen would do. I crumpled up the paper into a ball, muttered under my breath, and I dumped it into the garbage with attitude. Because while everyone else was choosing their camp color wars and their bunk buddies, I was being shipped off to Barranquilla, Colombia. Every single summer, alone, and I hated it. I didn't want to be the weird kid who came back in September with no cool stories. I wanted to come back talking about sneaking out of cabins, the boy I had a crush on, and who kissed who behind the arts and crafts shed. What was I supposed to share? That I climbed a mango tree? That my cousins and I rode in the back of a pickup truck like we were livestock? Like that I lived on a farm with more animals than humans? No. Instead, I was put on a plane alone and sent to this humid, bright-in-your-face country for 2.5 months. Now, don't get me wrong. The minute I landed, my grandparents and cousins greeted me like the gringa that I am and received me with my favorite foods and sweets and hugs, and they spoiled me rotten. My grandfather had a new project or adventure for me every single summer. One summer, he had these little eggs, and the chicks hatched from the eggs, yellow, scrawny, adorable. Another summer, there was this huge mango tree in the backyard of the house, and I decided that I was going to become a businesswoman, and I started picking the mangoes and selling them. Guys, and then came that summer. The summer that changed everything. The summer that traumatized me. The summer of the pig, AKA the choncho. Yes. Well, that year, the special guest was a pig. Well, not a cute animated Hollywood pig, not Charlotte Webb's Wilbur vibes. Nope. Like this looked like it fought 3 wars and won. My grandpa explained that he was fattening up the pig for Christmas, and if you know what I mean. And I was like, okay, great, wonderful, love that for us. So every day I play in the backyard while the pig sat there doing nothing, just existing, laying there, breathing, looking for trouble. And one hot, sweaty afternoon, my cousin and I got bored, And what happens when kids get bored? Well, bad decisions enter the chat. And we started throwing tiny rocks at the pig to see if it would move. Just a twitch, a wiggle, a snort. I mean, like something. At first, it barely reacted. Well, which only encouraged us. Even the monkey, yes, the monkey, there was a monkey that played with us every day, our usual playmate, got excited and started throwing these little lines that only grow in Colombia at the pig. And my grandfather yelled from a distance, "Oye, deja ese choncho! Leave that pig alone!" But were we listening? No, of course not. We weren't listening. We kept going, rocks, twigs, until suddenly the pig got up. True to God. Not a casual, like, let me just stretch my legs, get up. No, this was like, I am the boss and you are dead energy. It puffed his chest, stomped his back leg, let out a sigh that came straight from the depth of hell. My cousin and I froze. We realized instantly that we were screwed. And then it charged. We screamed, grabbed each other's hands, and started running for our lives like two barefoot contestants on The Amazing Race. The monkey was losing his mind, jumping, squealing, hype like he had bought front row tickets to like an action movie. And thank God that there were two workers nearby that saw the disaster unfolding. They jumped in and somehow corralled the pig before it turned us into arroz con pollo. But here's the thing. As I look back now at the barefoot summers, the sweat, the salsa, the cumbia everywhere, the fresh fruit, the tree climbing, the cousins, the monkey, the pig, and yes, even my first crush, he looked like Ralph Macchio from The Karate Kid. I realized those summers were magic, chaotic, sweaty, wild magic. And I wouldn't trade them for anything. So, if I could go back in time and my parents finally said, "All right, Bonnie, you could stay home and go to any summer camp you want," I would turn to them, smile, and say, "Thank you, but no thank you."
All right, keep it going for Bonnie. I want to climb a mango tree. Yeah, the perspective of being a kid and wanting the wrong thing. Summers in Colombia, come on. All right, we're going to keep rolling. Let's welcome to the stage a storyteller we haven't met before. This is James Rana. Come on, James.
Thank you. I was attacked by a dog in Rutherford, New Jersey, and didn't even get a lousy t-shirt. It'll be 3 years next week. I was performing at the Rutherford tree lighting ceremony. I'm walking back to my car and I encounter an older woman walking a large white dog. Now, the dog sees me and is barking and growling. Normally when this would happen, I either cross the street or start walking faster. But I'm carrying a heavy box of props. So I tried reasoning with the dog. Hi, I'm just going to my car. It's right over there. I passed them, and the dog lunged, and it felt as if someone had taken a knife and stabbed me in the leg, and I shouted out, and the woman woke up. "What? Your dog bit me." "Oh, fine, I'll go get some help." And she and the dog walked back into the house. I dropped my box of props, and I found myself sitting down on some stranger's yard, looking out into the stars, and I am shaking and my mind is going 1,000 times a second. How did this happen? Immediately, a car pulls up and a guy runs towards me. Someone has come to save me, thank goodness. I saw everything. Nothing happened. You're making this up. It was the woman's son. We'll call him Steve, because that's his name. My neighbor has a camera, and it films everything on the street, and it will prove that you're lying. What, you think I'm making this up? Well, I don't know. I didn't see anything. At that point, I touched my leg, and I looked at my hand. It was soaking with blood. Steve came up to me with his flashlight and examined the leg, and he went full Karen. "Oh, this is the worst day of my life. I gotta now kill the dog. This is the third attack." The police show up, The officer demands that Steve show him proof that the dog has been vaccinated and yells at him. It was wonderful. Then an ambulance came and took me away. The next morning, I had to do the unthinkable. I had to tell my parents that a dog put me in the ER. I showed them my bandaged leg, and then I said, "Oh, but don't worry. I am going to sue this guy. It is going to be wonderful." That moment, my dad got very serious. He got extremely upset. "You are not suing that man, do you hear me? You are not suing him. This is an angry white man. If you sue him, he will come after you. He will come after us. You're not suing him, okay?" And I regret this to this day, but I listened to my father and I did not sue him. Steve got hold of my phone number, and a few days later, he left the following message. "Hi, James. I don't know what to say. Once again, I'm sorry. Give me a call. I need to talk to you. I said I'm sorry." I didn't call Steve back. Instead, I wrote him a letter. "You say you're sorry, but what exactly are you sorry for? That your dog attacked me or for accusing me of making it all up? Have you any idea how horrible you were? It was cruel, disgusting, privileged behavior, and I want to have nothing to do with you, and I want to have no communication whatsoever." I never heard from Steve again. Unfortunately, Steve didn't even give his insurance. He was supposed to, but he didn't. So I was held responsible for the ER bill, and my insurance premium went up. So I got absolutely nothing from this accident, except some trauma and a scar on my leg, but also a little story to share with you. Before I leave, I do have a request. If any of you are in Rutherford, New Jersey, and see an angry guy named Steve walking a large, angry white dog, do me a favor. Tell him he's a jerk. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for James. Steve, are you here tonight? No Steves, huh? All right. When I was a kid, my family took a cross-country trip, and I was fascinated. We went to Yellowstone in Wyoming, Glacier Park in Montana, and I was fascinated by the groundhogs out there, little prairie dogs. They were so cute. I really thought I could feed one. I was 9. The first one bit me right on the finger, did not draw blood, and so I was like, well, that was just an angry groundhog. I tried again. That one drew blood, so at least yours was not voluntary. All right, we're going to keep it going. Let's welcome to the stage our 4th storyteller for tonight. This is Danielle Sepulveris. Come on up, Danielle. Give it up.
Okay, so the year was 2009. I was working in ad sales. I was about 7 years into my career track, and something happened that's very common in corporate America, which is when senior leadership decides that they don't like the quarterly numbers, but in order to keep their salaries up here and their bonuses up here and their second homes in the Hamptons, they pay a buttload of money to an independent consultant to come in and then fire everyone underneath, or tell them who they need to fire so that they can keep these salaries, keep these second homes or third. And so they hired a man, the company that I worked at, they hired a man for $175,000, and that's $2,009, by the way, so keep that in mind. So he came in, and this man was meant to have one-on-one meetings with all of us, and they framed it, I believe the narrative was something like, we're gonna streamline work processes, we're gonna optimize workflow, but we all know what that means. So because I worked in sales, I felt I'm gonna go into these meetings with math, because you can't argue with math. So I'm gonna go in for my one-on-one, I'm gonna make these spreadsheets, and I'm gonna say, this is the amount of revenue I bring into this company, this is how much you pay me, this is how many times over I cover my salary, because I thought, hey, this is the way to do this. So I'm super ready, I make my spreadsheets, And I go into his office on the day, and I'm so pumped, like, because I know I've got this. I'm about to sit in the chair across from him, and he goes, hold on a second. I didn't eat breakfast this morning. Do you think you could run down to the cafeteria, toast me up an English muffin, and also make me a peppermint tea, but like a large peppermint tea, so it needs like 2 tea bags, not just one. And I stared at this man holding my spreadsheets, and I thought, the people pleaser in me actually almost turned and was like, oh, okay, I'll be right back. And then I thought, no, I'm a sales executive at this company. No, I'm not doing this. So I said, no, I don't think I will do that. And he said, no? And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm here for a meeting. You have 2 assistants assigned to you. There's interns in the building. You can ask any one of them to do this for you. And he stared at me, and he said, all right, I guess we'll start this meeting. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to focus because I'm so hungry. And I thought, this 50-year-old man, I was 28 at the time, did not have the forethought to stop and get a bagel. This is New Jersey. There's a million bagel places. Pick up a bagel on the way to work, sir. And I'm thinking, too, I might have given him an easy reason to cut me because I didn't toast him his stupid English muffin. But I somehow survived the first round of cuts. However, he didn't go away after that, which made me nervous, which made me think there were more coming. And he was around in the office for several more months, not doing much more than making inappropriate comments. For example, I was wearing my grandmother's engagement ring at the time because she had passed away, and it made me feel close to her. And he said, I don't think you should wear that. It gives the wrong idea to clients. And there was another woman in the office who had legs for days, and he told her, you shouldn't wear pantsuits. You've got great legs. You should really show them off. And someone called out sick, and he said, what's the matter? You had chlamydia? So, lots of great stuff going on with this guy. And and so one day, there was a state of emergency blizzard in New Jersey where the governor of New Jersey actually said, please stay off the roads, please stay home. My company decided to supersede that decree and tell us we all had to come in. But the reason we all had to come in was because they were telling us all that we didn't have jobs anymore. And so I sat down at this conference table with our HR rep and this man who was still inexplicably there. And they gave me a very generous severance package. It was a Thursday. They said they would pay me through the end of the week and give me health insurance through the end of the week. So as I was getting up from the table and about to walk out, this man said, I feel so bad. Can I give you a hug? And I said, absolutely not. And he grabbed me anyway and pressed his body up against mine, and I was so shocked, so taken aback that it took me a few seconds to physically remove myself and push him off. And I looked at the HR woman. She said nothing. She looked away, and I said nothing. And I walked out of there shaking and nauseous and wanting to scream and feeling powerless and embarrassed. And it took me years to reconcile the fact that I did nothing wrong in that room and that no one has the right to put their hands on you ever, especially when you say no. And I will say that I take a lot of satisfaction in the fact that 6 months later, that company called to offer me my job back, and I said, thanks, but no thanks. But I take greater solace in the fact that I never toasted an English muffin for that human pile of garbage.
All right, keep it going for Danielle. It's rare when 2 storytellers overlap, but James, I think that was Steve. Steve is a consultant. Steve. Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate you. All right, we're going to keep going. This next storyteller coming up, this is Shell A. Carter-Wilson. Let's welcome Shell to the stage. Come on up, Shell.
Okay, probably going to get points off of this from the very beginning. I know that the theme is thanks but no thanks. I'm going to put it in a slightly different cultural context. Yes, this is a storytelling competition, but we're going to play a game show that I'm calling Petty or Not. Okay. This is a true story. It happened to me 26 years ago. I know that because at the time I was profoundly pregnant with our youngest. It was Memorial Weekend. For all the years that my husband and I were married, beginning our first year of marriage, we decided not to spend a lot of money on, a lavish anniversary getaway. So we just disappeared. We did not sleep in our own bed, and that meant in the early years of our marriage, we slept on the pull-out couch because it was not our bed, like we were not home. We cooked no food. We were essentially feral. We'd get up and go eat when we were hungry. We would sleep. We would play. It was delightful. We never told anybody where we were going, and fortunately, nobody asked. Fast forward to, I think, our fourth anniversary. We'd just had our first child, and what do? This is now a family tradition. We took the baby along. It was wonderful. We were still in town. We were still doing our thing. We really, really loved this. Fast forward a few more years. I'm expecting our second child. Again, it's Memorial Weekend. Now, you may not know this, the celebration of Memorial Day is actually grounded in African American history. The first celebration took place when freedmen went to decorate the graves of Union soldiers in South Carolina. So this is my holiday, not everybody else's holiday. I was married to my husband, who's now gone, was originally from Trinidad in the Caribbean. So we had kind of a, blended marriage, blended celebrations, all of these things. He was my high school sweetheart and my prom date, and he's still my favorite bae. Anyway, so we were going to do our regular escape thing for Memorial Day, and my mother called. Hi, Mommy. Everything okay? She'd called a couple times before. I really hate to bother you. Mom, what is it? Well, she mentions my mother-in-law's name. She called me to see if I knew where you were, and it seems she's been trying to get in touch with you. Well, now I'm a little concerned. So I said, it's okay, Mom. I said, but didn't you think we were away? She said, and this is when you know your mother knows you. She said, well, I've always suspected you two just kind of disappeared, but there was no need to say anything about it. I wanted you to enjoy yourselves, so very sorry to have interrupted your weekend, but maybe you should have your husband give his mother a call. First question for the audience. My mother-in-law's behavior. Petty or not? So I tell my husband, call your mother. My husband was an only child. My husband was the scion of the family, and probably my mother-in-law's greatest accomplishment, or at least among them. So I guess you can imagine we had a challenging relationship. So he calls his mother, and she explains that she's gathering the entire family together at their home for Memorial Days, and she hates to disappoint us, but she'd love it if we could come. Yeah, that. So I do what any good, Southern girl does. I am maybe a fifth-generation Black Southern belle. That's a thing, which means I have potato salad recipes that have been passed down, and apologies for the Karens in the room, no raisins, baby. So when my husband and I would get together with his family and there was grilling involved, his mother and I would do all of the inside food, and the men just wanted fire and meat. So, profoundly pregnant, in my third trimester, over the age of 35, where they call it a geriatric pregnancy, which is just disrespectful. I'm making all of the standard fare, and we pack it up in the car with the child and all the toys and all the things, and we're off to Grandma and Papa's house. I made my daddy's potato salad. Now, my daddy's potato salad comes from his mother, who was born and raised in Mississippi. His father potentially influenced this recipe way down in Tennessee. When I tell you I have deep Southern roots, I am not playing. As I said, no raisins. But if you've ever had African American potato salad, it is very carefully constructed. It's put into the bowl that almost everybody always serves their potato salad in. And I carefully decorated it with elements that are actually in the dish. So there's boiled eggs in it, and I've got sliced boiled eggs. It's decorated. There's a certain drizzle of paprika. There's minced celery in it. So I actually had celery leaves decorating the bowl. I'm a little extra. We get there, we do what we're doing. The men are outside. My husband comes back in. I've now left the kitchen. I've gone to the dining room to help set up. And I come back into the kitchen, and there's the one bowl that I always put the potato salad in that I don't see anywhere. And I'm looking, and my husband happens to come in, and then it catches corner of my eye. My bowl is clean. There's another bowl with potato salad in it. And it looks like my potato salad. Clutch your pearls. It's got canned peas and carrots in it. I would say that I would prefer raisins, but that's a lie. That's a lie. I look at my husband, and I'm sure the baby is up doing the baby's thing, and I'm getting angrier and hotter. What is this? My husband explains to me very calmly, this is called mayonnaise. No, mayonnaise comes in a jar, baby. In Trinidad, when you really want to jazz up the potato salad, you drain a can of peas and carrots, and you put the peas and carrots in the potato salad, you mix it up, and you serve it. What the grandfather? It was 26 years ago, and I'm still mad about it. Thanks, but no thanks, lady, for effing up my family potato salad recipe. As I leave you, I have one final question. My mother-in-law's behavior and the fact that my husband did not rise full of indignation to protect me. Petty or no? And don't answer, because I know what the answer is.
All right, keep it going for Shal. Petty or not? Oh, you didn't answer. I just checked the snacks at the bar, and there are no raisins. We are all safe. All right. We had one storyteller who didn't check in. Is Evan Stewart Eisenberg in the room? Evan. We're going to keep it rolling then. Thank you very much. All right, let's welcome to the stage our next storyteller. This is Brooke Sorger. Come on up, Brooke.
Thanks for having me. For as long as I can remember, I wanted to go to one of those large family Thanksgivings. And given I had never had one, I think I probably learned about them from 80s television series. My favorite one was Little House on the Prairie. And in spite of blizzards, deathly illnesses, and actually needing to hunt, kill, and defeather the turkey, they seemed to be able to get the whole town together for these big Thanksgivings. And my family, although all they needed to do was cross the DW Bridge, which I guess on some level could be like crossing the prairie in the middle of a blizzard, we were never able to ever do this because we were fighting. We were great at fighting. I hoped and prayed that one day someone would marry someone, and I would finally be invited to this big, great Thanksgiving dinner, just like the one I had imagined in my mind. And eventually my wish was granted. My first cousin's wife's family invited all of us. And of course, the first person I needed to tell was my psychiatrist. Because in addition to being good at fighting, we were great at psychotherapy. If psychotherapy was a team sport, we would definitely take home the team gold medal for the most number of psychotherapy sessions combined. And my mother would win the individual competition for most sessions ever with one psychotherapist. So anyway, back to my psychiatrist. He's a rather eccentric guy, very old school, and he says, I actually wrote a play about Thanksgiving. I'm like, you wrote a play? Okay. And he said, and the main character decided he'd bring a gas mask to the dinner just in case there might be an attack. And I'm like, are you insinuating that some kind of emotional poison is gonna pour through the vents at my dinner? Are you Debbie Downing my dream Thanksgiving with symbolism? And he goes on. The character tries to warn everyone else to put the gas masks on, but they don't listen. They think he's ridiculous. And in the end, everyone dies except the guy in the gas mask. I'm like, everyone dies? No, this is not how the Little House on the Prairie episodes end. I leave his office. He says, don't forget the gas masks. I said, don't worry, I will. I put this obviously out of my mind, and I go on to my gift prep, and my gift is to make the greatest cookie plate like ever. I go to Party Fair. I get all the edible decorations, like even the markers. And I did not appreciate how cheap of an endeavor that this was then. For the price of one thing of sprinkles now, I got all of it. It was so exciting. And we make this incredible array of cookies. My daughter's little hand, she's 5 at the time, serve as the outline for the little turkeys. It literally says, Happy Thanksgiving, love the soldiers. I mean, it's a personal masterpiece. I also get the really good plate from Lillian Sonoma, not like the cheap, plastic cheap one, because of course, the plate's gonna be gifted. I figured out that, you don't have to use cellophane to wrap these things. They actually use a bag, and I get the bag and I put it around, and I have like the red, the orange, the yellow ribbon. I like curl it with the scissor. I mean, it's just too much. And finally the day comes. We're all dressed in our Sunday best. We show up to the house. It looks exactly what I expect the house to look like, except the hostess opens the door. It's a little reminiscent of what's coming next is like the potato salad. Not quite as bad. Yours is worse, I think. But except the hostess opens the door, wicks the cookie out of my hand, barely says hello. And in the corner of my eye, I see that there are 10 homemade pies, actually with the homemade crust. You can tell they're not like the store-bought crust. And it comes flooding back to me. Oh my God, or my cousin's wife's sister is a chef. She's a chef. And I mean, this is a complete production. My cookies have taken a total back door. They are relegated to a far-off counter, exiled. I am absolutely flabbergasted. I can't believe it. So the evening ensues, and there is nothing that I expected to happen. Nothing that happened on Little House. No one is talking to each other. No one's really connecting to each other. There are no games. There is no singing. There is no violin playing. And at some point, I literally start to feel tears forming in my eyes. I run to the bathroom. I'm thinking, I should have brought the gas mask. I should have brought the gas mask. But what I am also thinking is I'm kind of happy I cheated because the cookies are not made from scratch. I got like the sugar roll, the Pillsbury sugar roll, and I put the 1 cup of the flour in. It's a great trick if you've never done it before. And I'm really happy at the time I did that. But it's there in the bathroom, I realize. I don't know about you, but I've had some of my greatest realizations in a bathroom. That what I was seeking, it wasn't big or large. I was just looking for emotional connection, and I couldn't find it there. But there was a place I could find it, and it was right in front of me in the family I created for myself. I just wasn't focused there. My past had become my present, and I lost touch with what I did have because I was so busy wishing for what I didn't have. And in the end, the family I created for myself was my dream come true. I went back to a smaller Thanksgiving, and we invited anyone who was available to come and anyone who didn't have a place to go. You're all invited if you want. I didn't tell my husband that. We started going to restaurants, which I've also found to be very nice. And the next time I was invited, just in case you're wondering, everybody lived, to that large Thanksgiving. Instead of saying thank you, I said no thank you. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Brooke. Thank you for inviting us. In the spirit of community, you've been a great audience so far. Turn to your right or left. Say hi to somebody. Meet somebody. Say, how you doing? Thank you for doing that. All right, we just have 3 more stories for you tonight. Let's welcome to the stage our next storyteller. This is Eleonora Kostinsky. Come on up, Eleonora.
It was a sunny morning. I woke up from a sunlight shining straight into my eye. Stepped on a stile and saw a number I never imagined seeing. 200 Days of Pizza paid off. I wasn't cast in Super Size Me movie. I had a bigger purpose. I'm growing a human inside, a baby Leo. And being Leo myself, I couldn't be more proud. If you know anything about astrology, you know that Leos are the best. We're magnetic, energetic, charismatic, dramatic. And the sun revolves around us. Well, if you don't believe it, ask Instagram. Being pregnant with another Leo is life's biggest gift. And so I had a name, Ariel, which means lion in Hebrew. I looked in the mirror and froze. All pregnancy, I loved seeing my glowing skin, my growing belly, my hair. Oh, it was so feminine, but now I couldn't see my eyes. My fingers were fat sausages, my skin red and itchy. Oh my God, I couldn't wait for it to be over. But I knew that soon enough, I would be basking in the joys of motherhood. And so I slid my swollen feet into flip-flops and schlepped to OBGYN, thanking God and universe that I was summer because I would not be able to get on those ankles into boots. So my OBGYN confirmed the baby was full term, head down, and I was dilating. She said, "You're gonna fly." And I said, "And what if the flight happens before Leo, after Leo's cutoff?" Well, she said, "Let the nature take its course." But I would not rely on nature. I couldn't let Virgo happen. I took it into my hands. I went home and I did squats with heavy weights all day until my waters and her patience had broken. She wasn't fully cooked, but she was fully Leo. I said, mission accomplished. But 2 queens in 1 house, that's Game of Thrones. And now we had 18 seasons. First, she hated her name because apparently Ariel is not only a lion, it's also a mermaid. But you know what happens if you grow up without Disney Channel? And then she hated being Jewish. I mean, I moved to Livingston just because of I wanted her to grow up knowing her identity. And they call it Livingston for a reason. There are more Jews per square mile than anywhere else. Oh, I hated living in Livingston. You look in the outside, you see nothing moves except the deer. And then you go to Starbucks and you see identical twins over the age of 40 in the same outfits. I thought I had double vision. I mean, everyone is in Lululemon, Louis Vuitton, and hair, L'Oreal medium brown. I was like, okay, L'Oreal has 50 shades of brown. I couldn't get why. But then I got it. Because it probably is written in Torah. All children of Israel to be brunette. Or maybe they're trying to hide from Nazis. Well, as a result, my daughter came out as Asian. I'm like, you're 100% Jew. What makes you Asian? She's like, well, I am a nerd. Russia falls partially in China. And even Temple Sinai transitioned into Chinese church. So she's majoring in math and changed her name to Leo. And that's when I knew that every squat mattered. Thank you.
All right, we're going for Eleonora. Two pregnancy stories tonight, huh? If you're far removed, just to touch on your point before, from pregnancy, they no longer call it geriatric, because that's insensitive. It's advanced maternal age. It's worse, I think? I don't know. It is, yes. All right, we got two more for you. Let's welcome to the stage Mary Beth Thoreau. This is Mary Beth. Come on up.
This is so fun. In a few months, I will be turning 40 years old. Thank you. And when I reflect back and I think about some of the choices that I've made and some of the choices that I've almost made, I'm really just surprised that I'm here tonight, like alive. I grew up in Western Massachusetts in a small town, and when it was time for me to go to college, I decided I wanted to come to New York City. And a lot of people back home were very concerned about my safety. My aunt, she gave me a $20 bill, and she said, "Keep this in the sole of your shoe, because you never know when you're gonna have to hail a taxi and escape an unsafe situation." And then my coworkers, I was working at a factory that summer, and they were so sweet. And before I left, they gave me, like a card with some money in it, and they said, "Maybe use some of this to take self-defense classes." I didn't do either of those things, and I proceeded to move to New York City and make a series of questionable decisions. Here is some of them. So my freshman year, my roommate and I decided that we wanted to be models. So I did what one does, and I went on Craigslist. And I found a man advertising himself as a modeling manager. And we went unaccompanied to his apartment on the Upper West Side. My sophomore year into junior year, I did a summer semester. I don't know if anyone's done a summer semester at college, but it's wild. It's like summer camp. So my friend and I, another boy from the dorm, he invited us out, and he was buying us drinks and buying us drinks and buying us drinks. And we were like, "You're so generous." And then when we when we got back to the dorm, I had to lock myself in my room because he was pounding and shouting on the other side of the door, saying, "I thought we were having a threesome." I said, "I didn't." In my junior and my senior year, I didn't make any bad decisions. And then I graduated, and I was having such a good time that I decided to stay in New York City, and I got an apartment in Woodside, Queens. And something important to know about this time in my life is 2009, and I had made a New Year's resolution for myself that year that I wanted to get a passport and travel outside the United States, because I had made so many bad decisions inside the continental U.S. I thought it was time to broaden my horizons. So I had my passport at that point, but I didn't really have any plan for how I was going to make this traveling abroad happen. But one day, I made a mistake, and I locked myself out of my apartment. And my roommate was a nurse, so she worked long hours. She wasn't going to be back for hours. And I didn't know what to do, but I remembered that, sometimes the super lives in the building. Maybe the super lives in this building. There was no super. But I was like, well, if there is, he probably lives on the 4th floor, so let me go up there. So I started my journey. I went up to the 2nd floor, the 3rd floor, and the 4th floor. I got up there, and each floor had 2 apartments. So I knock on the first door, no one answers. I knock on the second door, and the door opens, and do you know who it was? It was a man. And I said, hi, are you the super? And he said, no. But would you like to come in? And I said, okay. And I went in this strange man's apartment. But he was really friendly. He made me a cup of instant coffee. And I was just sitting at his kitchen. And he was just telling me all about himself. And he said, I'm a photographer. Would you like to see some of my work? I said, okay. It was all just pictures of naked women. That was his work. That was his work. I said, okay, I'm going to go now. And he said, wait, before you leave, I'm taking a trip back to Bulgaria in a few weeks. Would you like to come? And I was like, oh my God, this is my chance. But I said, I'm going to think about it. And I mean, like, thank God I said thanks, but no thanks. And didn't go to Bulgaria, but sometimes I still think about that man and, like, what on earth would have happened had I gone with him to Bulgaria? And I'm so glad that I don't know. Thank you.
All right, keep it going for Mary Beth. So glad you're still with us, Mary Beth. I knew he was Bulgarian. I knew it. All right, we're going to bring it home right now. Let's welcome to the stage our last storyteller for the night. You've been a fantastic audience. This is John Minus. Come on up, John.
This is the story of many things given and many things taken away that, for purposes of plot cohesion, takes place on Halloween. For Halloween, I was a character from a show that tens of people are obsessed with. It's called Severance, and I was Seth Milchick. That's why I grew out the hair, this awesome mustache. And I won't say any more because spoilers, but I was looking pretty damn hot. And when I feel like I look hot, everybody else feels it. I was on a roll. I was on a tear. I was radiating charisma. So I went to this beer garden with my friends, and on this night, I made positive contact with 5 women who I did not know before I got there. That was a big deal for me. You probably think, oh, this guy has thousands of broken hearts in his past. If only. No, so I made contact with 5 women. The first one she was there very colorfully dressed with a collar, a ball gag, and a riding crop. And she said that she was a piñata who liked pain, to which I replied, a piñata, which is amazing. I still haven't gotten over how great that is. Now, I had left my friends for 10 minutes. I come back with a phone full of pictures of me and this woman, me with the riding crop, me with the thing around her neck with a leash, me holding her looking at me like I just saved her life. I am not exaggerating. And her boyfriend took all of these pictures. He insisted on taking pictures of her. So I went back to my friends and I said, I think I just joined a throuple. I'm not sure, but I am in a very intimate relationship. Words like sub, top, brat, BDSM were thrown around. If you don't know those words, ask your children. And if you do ask your children, tape it and post it, because I want to see. The next woman I call Cookie. She actually knew what I was, and that facilitated the whole thing, because my character's nickname was Milk, and she was a cookie, and she's like, hey, Milk and Cookie. And I'm like, yes, we should have sex. And for a moment, she seemed to be into it. And we were having all this really racy back and forth, and then my ADHD kicked in and I left. The third woman I call the producers. I do stand-up, I do poetry. No, I don't do poetry. Why did I say that? I do stand-up, I do this, storytelling, and sometimes I act, and all sorts of stuff. So it turns out she did stand-up and she produced a show. And she was really funny, and she thought I was really funny. And I was like, I'm so funny, this could lead to sex, right? Because something, I know I seem single-minded, but it was Friday night, I was out with my friends, we were drinking. You were all young ones. I was young once, long ago. So this one has less suspense because one of my friends, my good dear friends, who I like very much, who does not have as much personality as me, but has much bigger muscles than me, ended up taking her home. So, sorry, no, it's fine. I'm happy for him because I'm not as funny as he is good looking. And, you win some, you lose some. So it was getting late, and I started, just talking to anyone who came around me, and I was talking to a girl who was about my height, and she said, I'm not from New Jersey, and I said, I know, and she said, how'd you know? I'm like, because we don't make your model of white woman here. Now, she was from Des Moines. Yeah, see, this woman wasn't born, she was shucked. She was very, very pale, and very new to the city, any city. She had gotten to that point in drinking where you can't stop talking, but nothing makes sense. But I was drinking too, so I was listening. I'm a good listener. And she's talking about the cornfields and this place she lives in, this neighborhood of Jersey City that she lives in, that no one has ever called that name, because that's what transplants do. They move to cities and they call things names that no one who lives there calls them. And it was all very intricate and weird until an older woman from Newark came and told her to stop talking to me because I was 20 years older than her. Haven't figured that one out yet. So it's getting to closing time, and it's, the best of what's around time. I see these two girls who are dressed in old original series Star Trek dresses, and I'm like, all right, I gotta have a chance here with one of them. And I'm talking to one of them, and the other one, who I thought was with a guy, demands my phone number. Not asked, demands. I was afraid. I gave her my phone number, and I haven't heard anything from her since, and I'm scared. This is gonna come back, and not in a fun way. So, 5 outings, I haven't heard from any of them since. Yep, 0 for 5. 5 thanks and 5 no thanks. But this isn't a terrible story. Did you hear what I just said? That was an amazing night. I have a phone full of pictures of a woman who might want to marry me, and I don't know. And yes, that's it. Thank you very much.
All right, keep it going for John Minus. And let's give it up one more time for all of our storytellers tonight. What a great show. You've been a great audience. Thank you so much. We're going to invite our judges to head upstairs with the lovely Jennifer and deliberate, decide on our winners. The bar is open. Please go meet a storyteller, check in with somebody near you, share some laughs about the stories you heard tonight. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. We'll announce the winners. We'll see you in about 10. Thanks so much. So just so you know how this will go, we want to honor this wonderful evening. So our judges will introduce our first, second, and third place winners. We will get pictures with them and our judges, and then we'll get one group pictured to commemorate this night. Even if you didn't win, we really appreciate all of the sharing that you did with us tonight. So our first judge, who's ready? David's up. Come on up, David. Let's give it up for David Gaines.
Thank you, everybody. I just want to say we were very impressed by all the stories, and we were very impressed with the courage that it took to share ingratitude during this time of year and to question gratitude. It's an appropriate time of year for this. We all had our favorites. It was we were up there for like 3 hours, right? It was a long deliberation. We thought that all stories had some really wonderful aspects. I personally felt very inspired and moved by the storyteller that we're going to award third place to. We felt that her story took an incredible amount of courage, that it wasn't an easy story to tell, but that it really, I think, shines a light for all of us. And that's why we're awarding this prize to Danielle Sepulveris.
All right, Danielle, come on down. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Danielle, if we can hit the middle here and get a picture of you with your swag bag. All right, nice work, Danielle. All right, second place. Keith, come on down.
Thank you. Echoing David, you guys were all awesome. Every story ruled. Very hard decision to make. I think we're up there for 4 hours, but what is time anyway? The person that we're going to give second place to, I can relate to a lot of this person's stories. Having made a lot of terrible decisions in my life, I could have died at any point in time. Luckily, you said no thanks at the perfect time. Mary Beth Thoreau, second place.
Yeah, Mary Beth,
There we
come
go.
on down. Congratulations, second place.
You're welcome. Let's take a picture. Congratulations.
All right, nice work. It may be impossible, but you got a wood block next to you, you got some feet. Maybe get a drum roll for first place.
Wow. This was the clear winner for all of us. We didn't have to debate it. We were all walked in there and thought, okay, yeah, we know this was first place. It's also really hard to go first. And so Farah.
All right, come on down. First place winner. Congratulations.
And I love your commitment.
Congratulations.
It was awesome. Congratulations.
All right, we'd love for you to stay up here. We want to get our 3 winners with our 3 judges, one quick picture, and then we'll bring up the whole storytelling crew for one last photo for tonight.
Yeah, that's what we thought too, because the date was November 3rd. It was just so good.
I was supposed to send it. I haven't sent it. I'm sending it tomorrow.
All right, thank you for your generous applause. David, the camera's the other way. Congrats to our winners. Let's bring up our storytellers for this evening. One more photograph of you all. Thank you for your fantastic sharing tonight. Get cozy, get friendly. Good call, John. All right, thank you for being a fantastic audience tonight. Check us out at montclairfilm.org. We got classes. We got tons going on. Check out the Bellevue. Check out the Claridge. We show movies right here. Get home safe. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, and happy Thanksgiving.